we need a platform to attack. And the rules of engagement for the platform are very different than the rules of engagement for my actual laptop. Like, I don't want my browser to protect me from anything. I don't want my browser to try to stop cross-site scripting. I don't want on this platform. Now, my regular browser, I want that. So I want security features in my browser when I'm banking. I'm performing a pen test. I don't want any security features. I don't want, what if the app is vulnerable to cross-site scripting, but Chrome is shooting it down, and I don't see it, right? It's protecting me. I'm going to get false positive, a false negative now, rather. False negative means I didn't find something that was there, right? So I don't want any protection, right? And it turns out Firefox is the best browser if you don't want to be protected, which is not good for Firefox per se, day-to-day banking, but, well, to be more fair to Firefox, Firefox allows you to turn off security features where Chrome often does not, right? I want to turn off all the security features. I'm not knocking Firefox. Firefox is a fine browser, you know, but it turns out for our world of don't protect me, I can configure Firefox to do that pretty well, right? So we're going to primarily use Firefox in here inside the VM for that reason, okay? To attack platform, we need, well, an operating system. And Linux is the best for pen testing, pretty much full stop. I learned a long, long time ago, having come up from the Unix world and dissing Windows for years and years, and it's the right tool for the job. What's the right tool for the job, right? And for web app pen testing, Linux is the right tool for the job. Not saying you can't run these tools in Mac or whatever you can, but you have the most tools will run out of the box, the easiest, with the least amount of grief on Linux. I don't want to spend 12 hours fighting with dependencies and install stuff and libraries. I don't want to worry about that stuff. I want to just get work done, right? So Linux is the way to go. Now, there's a few ways to go. Kali is the king in all this, right? And pen testing distribution focused on general purpose pen testing, but has the web packages as well, the meta package. You have Samurai by Kevin Johnson and crew, and you have RVM. We looked at Kali, we looked at Samurai, and in the end, we built our own, and that was the right call. I've very specific, the thing about 542 is we have professional pen testers take it. We have people who've never used Linux in their entire career take it as well, right? And they have to be successful too. They have to be successful, right? So if I throw like an advanced, like Samurai, for example, a lot of the commands are in user bin Samurai something. And when we used to use Samurai, people type user bin Samurai and they misspell Samurai because Samurai is hard to spell. So if students are fumbling with basic stuff like that, they're not learning anymore, they're just fumbling. It's like, why not make it real simple? Put things in the path, make the path short, make the path obvious. Little things like that, you know, that I focus on. Because we call that, by the way, firefighting. Firefighting is when the hand's up because something's not working. And we'll always firefight. If a lab has lots of that, they're not learning anymore. That's not a good lab. It's just not a good lab, right? So build a better lab. So I decided that building our own was the way to go. I can put things in there like Burp Pro. I can customize it exactly as I want it. We can put a wiki in there, and that's what we did, and I believe that was the right choice, right? So we need a scanner now, an intercept and proxy. And there's various forms of scanners, Acunetics, Veracode. I mentioned Veracode earlier. Chris White's Paul's company. A lot of fine tools, a lot of great tools out here. Those are all great tools. Ultimately, this is the key tool. I talk to proxy, proxy talks to server. This guy sees everything. He sees all the cookies, whether they're staved or not. SSL is usually not a big deal. We'll talk about that. I can intercept SSL, which we'll do. We're going to set that up today, right? Most forms of SSL can still be intercepted. We'll talk about TLS 1.3 later on. TLS 1.3 just came out, and TLS 1.3 can no longer be passively intercepted, and its banks are freaking out. They are freaking out. TLS 1.2 and older, if you have the private key, you can intercept passively. Meaning if it's an internal web server, and I have the private key for my own internal web server, I can sniff the traffic passively and still decrypt it. 1.2 and older. 1.3, you can't do that anymore. Banks are losing their minds. We'll talk about that, right? But usually we can intercept it, and but we need that proxy. And we can use Burp, we can use Zap. We'll talk in detail about those. Need a browser, and again, that's the Chromium logo, not the Chrome logo, by the way. Chromium, what's the difference between Chrome and Chromium? Chrome is not fully open source. You cannot download all the source code to Chrome. It is partially open source. The open source version of Chrome is Chromium with the blue icon, not the reddish orange one, right? Chromium, you have all the source code. Chrome adds some, proprietary stuff in there they don't release publicly, right? But if I want full control and I don't want the thing to protect me, Chromium is a better choice than Chrome because I have the actual source code. I can actually change the source code, recompile it, turn stuff off, right? Same with Firefox. So a fully open source browser is better. I'm not anti-Chrome. I use Chrome every day for my day job, right? But Chromium and Firefox are the two best choices. There's other ones out there too, but those ones tend to work pretty well. And we'll use those two this week. Question, how is it impacting sniffing traffic? It is massively impacting sniffing traffic. Like, I want to have an IDS, an IPS, something like that, see the traffic, plain text. How is it impacting it? It is hugely impacting it. And let me show you the quote, actually. So one of my most favorite quotes, I'm going to put a slide in on this. So on TLS 1.3, TLS 1.3, there's a reason I'm typing that, I'll show you why, yeah. So 2016, so TLS 1.3 got rid of the passive sniffing. So again, previously, before TLS 1.3, I'm kind of future casting for later on, but since we're talking about it, it's a great question, by the way. Banks make heavy use of passive in the US, right? So it won't work for eBay because I don't have their private key. But internally, an internal web server, I can have the private key, right? So you go to some internal application inside. Up until TLS 1.3, you could see that with the private key passively, meaning a sniffer, just to your point, could see all that stuff and decrypt it, right? Now this guy, Andrew Kennedy, he works at BITS, Technology Division, Financial Services Roundtable, blah, blah, blah. I represent 100 of the top 150 US banks. He goes on and on and on for quite a while. What they added was forward secrecy, sometimes called perfect forward secrecy. Forward secrecy means if key A generates key B, and key A is then compromised, key B is still secure. So if we use a key to create another key, and the first key is compromised, the second key is secure. That's called forward secrecy, sometimes called perfect forward secrecy, but cryptographers don't like the term perfect because nothing's perfect, right? So forward secrecy. They added forward secrecy, meaning that private key generates a second key, meaning possession of the private key does not get you the second key. I still can't see it, right? That's what they added, right? Simply put, but that's true, right? We made a big investment in this stuff to be able to decrypt on the wire. Impact on supervision will be particularly severe. Impact on network diagnostics, troubleshooting also serious. TLS has been dissolved to be, he's going on and on and on. I'm like, dude, make a point, get to the point. And finally, until the critical concerns surrounding enterprise security, employee supervision, blah, 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 don't do it. Don't do this thing, right? And the answer, I love the answer. Here's the answer. This is the team of engineers working on the standard. My view considering your request, no. I love nerds, man. I love engineers. We're so brutally direct, it's awesome. It's just refreshing. We're so brutally, painfully direct, So we should be planning for a world where we can no longer see what's on the wire. It's coming. It's just coming, DNS over TLS, DNS over HTTPS now. Yes, I'll talk about those later, very controversial flame war going on right now. DNS via TLS versus DNS over HTTPS, two separate things, by the way. And the second one is very controversial. The second one just looks like web traffic. You can't tell it's DNS traffic, right? Bro's not helping you, well, Zeek's not helping you. DNS over TLS uses its own port. You know that's DNS, you just can't see it. DNS over HTTPS, it's just web traffic to you. You can't even tell, right? And DNS in a SOC, DNS is my second source of data after the Windows event logs in a SOC, in a Windows shop. My top two logs are Windows event logs, DNS, right? If you want to do threat hunting, DNS is critical for threat hunting, right? And so we're moving in the direction when DNS is invisible, web's invisible, more stuff's invisible. You just can't see it. The host sees it all, right? So you have to fall back to the host. Many of our network type controls, IDSs, IPSs, are going to have to fall back to the host. The host sees the unencrypted traffic already, right? So that's where the industry's going to have to move there. And I've learned a long time ago, I'm not, what was the King Canute, the guy tried to stop the ocean from coming in, stop the waves. Like, the ocean's coming in, the waves are coming in. I'm a realist. Obviously, based on this gentleman's thoughts, they don't care about any of that. They want a more secure internet. He just said it, right? So I'm a realist. If it gets to a point where we can't see much of anything on the wire, it's coming. And prepare, is my view of it, right?